Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I am hiking on the New England Trail. We call this Ragged Mountain. This loop is about 5.8 miles. Probably only going to do about 3 miles of the loop, but really great views, and it is peak foliage right now in Connecticut. The point of today's video actually isn't really to showcase this hike, it's to talk about a few things I wish I had done differently and that I would do differently if I were to ever reattempt a through hike of the Appalachian Trail. For whoever's new to this channel, I attempted an Appalachian Trail through hike northbound from Georgia to Maine in March of 2023. In total, I hiked around 500 miles this year. Ultimately, I decided to finish the trail in sections and not continue through hiking. So today I just want to talk about kind of some of the things I would do differently for anybody that might be attempting in 2024 or in the future. Maybe this will be helpful. Just some insight. It's obviously all personal experience, but it could be helpful. So to preface, I did prepare a good amount for the AT. I did a lot of physical prep. I was out hiking 2 or 3 times a week. I was going to the gym. I actually felt where I needed to be physically to start the trail in Georgia. And also gear-wise, I prepared quite well. I think almost everything worked for me. There are some things I'm going to talk about. Financially, I prepared. I had plenty of money to do the hike. Really where I was lacking was mental, but there's not much you can do mentally to prepare for something like hiking for 6 months straight. But the first thing I wish I did differently was not have, this is gonna sound so bad, not have my boyfriend come with me to Georgia to send me off. Now this could just be like a personal mental thing, but personally, I hyped up this hike for 2 years for myself. I was really excited for it, but really nervous that I would not be capable of doing it because I'd never done anything like this in my life. I had my boyfriend come with me, and I really thought I would be fine leaving him. I was not worried about it. And it's not that I wasn't okay leaving him, because I hiked for almost 2 full months this summer, and I was fine. Missed him, of course, to a normal level, but I was having a good time when I went out and did a longer stretch before ending my hike. But I had him come to Georgia with me, and he sent me off halfway up the approach trail, and it hit me. That was what hit me, that made me realize what was happening. I wish I left him home and said goodbye to him at the airport or at my house or something, so I could have time before hiking to get my crap together, So I would just go solo. I do want to note, it is warm out. I'm in shorts today here in Connecticut. It is about 65. I think the high is going to be 70 today. And today is October 24th, I think. It's abnormally warm. The second thing I would have done differently is train more. And I know I said that I trained pretty good for this hike, and I did. But it doesn't hurt to train more. And when you think you're in good hiking shape, it is completely different when you put a fully loaded backpack on. Training a little bit more maybe would have given me more confidence in my ability to do the hike, because it is mostly mental, but you need some type of physical foundation, I feel to be, I think it ups your chances of being successful because it's not as strenuous physically. I would have just done a little bit more just to up my confidence a little bit, and because it couldn't hurt, and I feel that is a piece of advice that you can't not give, The third thing that I wished I did differently and that I would do differently is making sure my sleep system was really good. I've actually mentioned this in quite a few videos, but when I went out, I had a good sleep system in terms of like, I knew it worked. My sleeping pad didn't cause my hips to like give me any pain. I had a good like 20-degree quilt that I knew was going to keep me warm because I had tested that. So like in terms of that, my sleep system was good. I made sure, and I did test my sleeping stuff and I slept on it out in the woods. But I just kind of thought that like being up all night was part of backpacking and that you're never really going to get a full good night's sleep. But that is not true. So what I wish I did was really hone in and figure out what I needed to get a better night's sleep before going out to Georgia, because I slept so bad in Georgia. It wasn't that I was uncomfortable, like I was, I guess, but I just literally couldn't sleep. It really soured my experience camping at night, which is supposed to be the fun part. So once I got a wider pad, so I had more room to roll around, and I got an actual pillow to sleep on, it made such a difference. I was able to sleep so much better and actually like looked forward to going to camp at night for the rest of the trip. So I wish going out to Georgia I'd gotten a better sleep system, because sleeping and my experience at camp was one of the things that made me be like, I don't want to do this, you know? Another thing that I wish I did differently is, I've also said this before, going out for more than like 2 or 3 days at a time in preparation for the trip. So I went on quite a few like just one night overnighters to test gear and a couple day backpacking trips, but I never went out for more than like 3 days. So I had never had like a reason to call a shuttle or a hostel or do any of that. So it was this really big overwhelming thing for me in Georgia. Like the idea of like just to get like a shower and like resupply food, I had to like go through this whole hassle of calling hostels, especially when you're in the bubble and there's a lot of people and they're full, and it was like stressing me out to have to do that. On top of that, I had never been out for more than a few days at a time, so I always knew after a few days like I get to go home. But it's a really different feeling when you're knowing that you're supposed to be out there for like 6 months in order to be successful at thru-hiking. So that was a really big thing for me, was if I had that experience with being out on a backpacking trip for more than a few days at a time, maybe like a week or 2 at a time, it wouldn't have been such this like as big of a shock to me. I could have just thought of it like, okay, you've done this, you've gotten into the routine. But I had never even like been accustomed to like living in the woods for a longer period of time. And I think I subconsciously knew that too, because I went out there with this poor mindset that I didn't want to do this because I didn't like the routine of it, but that wasn't true. I just needed to like adapt to it. I put so much pressure on myself that it was just rough, all of the emotions at once. Another thing that I wish I did differently, and I actually always forget to mention this, was get insoles that worked for me for my shoes prior to going out, because I hiked pretty much from Harper's Ferry to New York with constant foot pain in my arches, and I just chalked it up to like the rocks and just being a lot of walking. But I would literally after like 8 miles have to like stop, take a break. My feet would be throbbing. I would have to roll my arches out with like a little cork ball. I would have to soak my feet in water, and I dealt with that every single day of that 430 mile stretch pretty much, until I picked up a pair of Superfeet blue insoles, which solved the problem. I have not had arch pain since. That's all it was. So it kind of drove me nuts, because there were so many days of my hike that I was in a bad mood because my feet hurt. Like a lot of the days that I was doing like 18 to 20 miles, I think I could have done with more ease if it weren't for the foot pain, because there were some days I was pretty tired, but a lot of what it was my feet were hurting. So if I had those insoles and was able to correct that issue, I might have enjoyed the hiking a little more some days, because there were days that my body felt like it could keep going, but my feet did not. So I would definitely get a quality pair of insoles prior to starting the hike. And the last thing that I wish I did differently, and this is probably the most important, was I wish I made the Appalachian Trail my number one priority in life. Now, this is insanely important because for me, like literally the reason why I decided I wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail was because I knew about it. I was very fascinated by it, but I would always like say like, no, I wouldn't do that. Like I would just do parts of it. I thought it was more logistically difficult than it actually is. I was getting into hiking because of COVID. I was always hiking, just locally though. But I remember like thinking it was so cool. I met someone once on the AT in Connecticut. My first time doing like a bigger hike, which was just like Bear Mountain in Connecticut. And he was like section hiking. He was from Texas. I remember thinking it was so cool and like fixating on it, you know? So in 2021, I kind of went down the rabbit hole of YouTube, like through hiking on YouTube. And I saw quite a few documentaries about hiking the AT. And I was like, you know what? This is like feasible. This is not as difficult as I thought it was, or as it used to be with like sending resupply boxes and whatnot. Because that was one of the biggest things that made me never want to consider it, was I don't like lots of planning like that. So when I realized that, I was like, wait, this is like the perfect post-college like experience. I was like, I have no idea if I'm capable of doing this. It was like this impulse thing when I decided I wanted to hike the AT, and I knew, I just was like, I really want to do the whole trail, and I was like, a through hike is the quickest way to do that, and I have the time now, so like let's just say screw it and save the money and do it. I think I told my parents 2 days after I watched a documentary that I was hiking it after college. So I didn't really like make it this like I need to complete this goal thing. It was kind of just like, I want to do the trail, like let's just try it. I don't know if I'm capable, but we'll try it. I feel like I went out there with like let's just see what happens attitude. Like if I don't finish, at least I'll have done this much. But it just wasn't like a great attitude, because I wish I had the attitude of like, I will finish no matter what. Overall, I just feel like, you know, it's not like I was planning this hike for like 15 years, or that I left a career that I hated to go do this hike and it was going to be incredible. I could compare it to like, at least this is better than working a career that I hate, but it wasn't like that. It was so impulsive, and there wasn't a lot at stake besides my feelings if I didn't finish. And it wasn't my top priority. I had a lot of FOMO, which is an acronym for the fear of missing out. And I do feel like, even though I knew this was like one of the most incredible adventures I could go on, one of my best opportunities to do it, probably, and nothing would compare to the feeling of like living out in the woods for 6 months. Like I still had that FOMO, that fear of missing out. Every summer I go on like trips with my friends and my boyfriend that I was really like, I was nervous that I was gonna like hate the AT and then have to wait like a whole nother summer to go on these trips, even though it's like I could literally do these trips anytime. A lot of like FOMO. It was a lot of worrying about if this was the right use of my time. By making it my number one priority and knowing I wanted it more than anything, I would have been more successful. Anyways, that is my insight on what I would have done differently if I was to hike the Appalachian Trail again, or what I wish I would have done. Very nice over here. Not too bad for Connecticut. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I make tons of hiking videos talking about a lot of different hikes in New England, mostly hiking on the Appalachian Trail, backpacking videos, backpacking gear, backpacking tips, all the good stuff, camping, tons of videos, lots of travel and hiking inspiration for people that follow my channel, and lots of good backpacking information. So if you enjoyed, go ahead and subscribe. And all right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.